Look at your hands right now. If they still button a shirt without shaking, you're rare. Past 75, 6 small habits separate the strong from the fading. Most folks lost them by 70. You haven't. Stay with me. I'll show you why. I know who you are. You're 76, maybe 82. You woke up this morning and something in your body told you to search for this. Maybe it was a small ache, a breath that felt shallow, a name that took a second longer to remember. And here's the thing. You came looking for answers, not pity. I'm Dr. Aliza Wright, 20 years in family medicine, and I'm tired of the script most of my colleagues read to patients your age. You're doing fine for your age. That phrase, for your age, is doing real damage. It tells you to lower the bar, to accept less, to stop trying. But here's what 20 years of practice taught me. The patients I've watched stay sharp, strong, and on their own 2 feet into their late 80s. They didn't do anything dramatic. No expensive supplements, no exotic diets. They held on to 6 quiet habits. 6, that's it. And most people their age quietly let those habits slip somewhere between 65 and 72. They didn't notice it happening. Their families didn't notice. But the slip happened, and the body kept score. Here's the dangerous part. Losing these habits doesn't feel like anything at first. There's no alarm, no flashing light. It's just a slow drift. And by the time someone notices, the drift has become a fall. Sometimes, literally. Before I show you the 6, do me one favor. Drop your age in the comments below and the state you're watching from. Florida, Ohio, Arizona, wherever you are. I read every single comment, and I shape future videos around who's actually watching. Your story matters here. Now let me give you the number that started all of this for me. A research team at Johns Hopkins, tracking adults between 75 and 85 over more than a decade, found that only about 12% maintained 4 or more of these specific daily habits. 12 out of every 100. The other 88? They had quietly given up at least 3 of them. And here's what nobody told them. Those 12% were 61% less likely to suffer what researchers call accelerated functional decline. Let me say that in plain English. They were 61% less likely to lose their independence in a sudden, fast slide. They kept driving. They kept cooking. They kept laughing at their grandkids' jokes without missing the punchline. So why does the body let these habits slip? Why doesn't it fight to keep them? The answer is something doctors call cognitive and physical reserve. Think of it like a savings account. Every habit you keep, every walk, every conversation, every glass of water, every new word you learn is a deposit into that account. And every day you skip them, the body makes a small withdrawal. Now here's the cruel math. Below age 65, the body refills the account on its own. It's generous, forgiving. Above 75, it stops refilling. It just spends. And if your daily habits aren't depositing fresh value, the balance drops fast. Most people don't see the balance dropping. They just notice, one Tuesday, that the stairs feel steeper, that a sentence trails off mid-thought, that a friend they used to call every week, they haven't called in 2 months. Picture this for me, a woman I'll call Eleanor, 79, lives alone in a small house outside Charleston, garden out back, photos of grandkids on the fridge. She came in last spring because her daughter said she'd lost her spark. Eleanor didn't think anything was wrong. She still made her own breakfast, still watched her shows, still went to church on Sundays. But when I looked closer, I saw the slip. She'd stopped lifting anything heavier than a coffee mug. She drank maybe 2 glasses of water a day. Her last real conversation, one with back and forth, with laughter, had been 10 days earlier. She'd stopped reading the novels she used to love because, in her words, my mind feels too tired to follow them. That's not aging. That's reserve depletion. And it's reversible. We'll come back to Eleanor at the end. You'll want to hear what happened. If you've ever felt that quiet slip, the kind nobody warns you about, this channel was built for you. I'm a general physician. I spent 2 decades watching the system run out of time for patients in their 70s and 80s. A 15-minute appointment can't cover this. So I made it my job to give you what the appointment can't. Every week, real science, plain English, no fear selling, no supplements to push. If that sounds like your kind of doctor, hit subscribe and turn the bell on. We're a small community of people who refuse to fade quietly. Glad you're here. We're going to count down from 6 to 1. The one at the top will surprise you. Even after 20 years of practice, it surprised me. So let's start. Habit number 6. You still drink water before you drink anything else. Here's where I have to be honest with you. For most of my early career, I told patients to drink enough water. Useless advice. Past 75, your body lies to you about thirst. Your kidneys lose about 40% of their filtering power. Your thirst signal, the one that used to wake you up dry-mouthed at 3 in the morning, goes quiet. You can be genuinely dehydrated and feel nothing at all. And dehydration at your age isn't a small thing. It causes dizziness when you stand. It dulls memory. It raises your fall risk sharply. One European study of 3,500 adults over 70 found that those who drank steady water all day cut their urinary tract infections by 38% and their falls by 29%. Here's what the rare 12% do differently. They drink 12 to 16 ounces of water first thing in the morning, before coffee, before breakfast, before the news. Why? Because overnight, your body lost more fluid than you think. Breathing alone takes a cup of water out of you while you sleep. After 75, that loss is about 30% higher than it was at 50. The synergy tip: add a tiny pinch of sea salt to that first glass. Not table salt. Just a small pinch of real sea salt or a quarter of an electrolyte tablet. Without a little sodium, plain water passes through your kidneys without ever reaching the cells that need it. That's why people drink water all day and still feel parched. Tonight, put a glass by your bed. Tomorrow, drink it before your feet hit the floor. This week, notice how your afternoon brain fog softens. Habit number 5. You still push against resistance twice a week. I'm not asking you to join a gym. I'm not asking you to lift heavy. I'm asking you to make your muscles work against something: a resistance band, a soup can, a wall push-up, at least twice a week. Here's why this matters more after 75 than at any other age in your life. Your muscle cells develop something called anabolic resistance, in plain English. Your muscles get harder to reach. They still respond, but only if you knock louder. And if you don't knock at all, they shrink. Quietly. About 1 to 2% per year after 60, and faster after 75. That shrinkage has a name: sarcopenia. And it's linked to a 47% higher fall risk and a 53% higher chance of losing the ability to do basic things, like getting yourself out of a low chair, within 5 years. A study out of Tufts followed adults between 75 and 85 doing twice-a-week resistance work. 10 weeks in, their leg strength jumped 37%. Their balance improved 28%. At 80 years old, 10 weeks. The synergy tip: within 30 minutes of your resistance work, eat about 25 grams of protein, a couple of eggs, a piece of fish, a scoop of cottage cheese. Your muscles are listening hardest in that window. Ask your doctor before starting if you have a heart condition, severe arthritis, or recent surgery. But for most of you watching, the green light is already on. Habit number 4. You still sleep on the same schedule as the sun. Sleep at your age isn't about getting 8 hours. It's about consistency. Your internal clock, the one that ran like a Swiss watch in your 40s, has gotten sloppy. After 75, your brain makes about 70% less melatonin than it did at 30. Your deep sleep stage, the one that repairs your body, drops by as much as 80%. And bad sleep at your age isn't just tiredness. Researchers at Berkeley found that adults over 70 with disrupted sleep showed 68% higher accumulation of the brain plaques tied to memory loss. 68%, that's not a small risk. The strong ones in their 80s, they go to bed within the same 30-minute window every night. They wake at the same time, even Saturdays. They keep the bedroom cool, between 65 and 68 degrees. Cooler bedrooms support deeper sleep because your aging body has a harder time cooling itself down. They put the screens away an hour before bed. Not for the blue light alone, because the mental stimulation keeps the front of your brain firing when it should be winding down. The synergy tip: 10 minutes of slow belly breathing before sleep. In through the nose, 4 counts. Out through the mouth, 6 counts. It lowers your stress hormone by about 22% and unlocks the deep sleep your brain is starving for. Habit number 3, you still eat protein at every meal like it matters. This one frustrates me as a doctor more than any other. For decades, seniors were told they needed less protein. The opposite is true. Because of that anabolic resistance I mentioned, your body actually needs 50 to 75% more protein per pound than a healthy 30-year-old to hold on to the same muscle. Most people your age eat half what they need: toast for breakfast, soup for lunch, a small piece of chicken at dinner. That's not enough, not even close. Picture your body as a brick wall. Every night while you sleep, the old damaged bricks come down. New ones go up. Protein is the brick. Without enough bricks, the wall gets thinner, month by month, year by year, until one fall, one infection, and the wall can't hold. The number you need: about 25 to 35 grams of protein at each of your 3 meals. That's roughly the size of a deck of cards in chicken, fish, or eggs. Greek yogurt counts, cottage cheese counts, beans count. Spread it out, because your muscles can only use about 35 to 40 grams in a single sitting after 75. Anything more gets burned for energy instead of repair. James, 78, from Scottsdale, came in last year because his daughter said he'd lost weight. His old doctor called it normal aging. It wasn't. He'd lost 18 pounds of muscle, not fat. His grip strength, one of the most powerful predictors of how long you'll live, was in the bottom 15% for his age. 12 weeks of restructured meals later, protein at every plate, he was back up 11 pounds of lean weight. His grip strength returned to average, and he told me, with a small grin, that he'd just carried his own groceries from the car for the first time in 2 years. The synergy tip: pair your protein with a little vitamin C, half an orange, a slice of bell pepper, a squeeze of lemon. Vitamin C helps you build the connective tissue that holds the muscle in place. Before I show you the top 2, and trust me, number 1 will surprise you, I want to hear from you. Type 1 in the comments if morning fatigue is your hardest fight. Type 2 if it's dizziness when you stand up. Type 3 if it's that breathlessness nobody else seems to take seriously, just the number. I'll read everyone and address them in next week's video. Habit number 2, you still talk to another human being every single day. I told you one of the top 2 would surprise you. This is it. Because it sounds too soft to be medical, but the research is some of the hardest in the field. Brigham Young University studied over 300,000 adults across decades. Their finding: chronic loneliness carries the same death risk as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, every single day. For adults over 75, the National Institute on Aging found that loneliness speeds up memory decline by as much as 64%. It raises dementia risk by 41%. It pumps inflammation through your bloodstream that damages your heart and your nerves. Here's what's happening underneath. When you have a real conversation, back and forth, laughter, even a small argument, your brain releases oxytocin. That hormone quiets stress, lowers inflammation, and lights up the parts of your brain that hold memory. When those parts go quiet for weeks, the connections start pruning themselves away. And here's the part most families miss. Sitting in the same room as someone while the TV plays does not count. Watching church online does not count. The brain needs the back and forth, the act of listening, responding, disagreeing, laughing. That's the medicine. Dorothy, 83, from Charleston, lost her husband of 54 years. Her daughter brought her to me 8 months later. On the tests, Dorothy's memory had measurably slipped in less than a year. I didn't change a single medication. I gave her a schedule, 1 book club a week, 1 20-minute phone call every day with a rotating list of friends, 2 afternoons a week volunteering at her local library. 8 months later, her test scores were back to her baseline. Her inflammation markers had dropped. Her daughter said, "She sounds like herself again. Tonight, call 1 person. Not text, call. Tomorrow, schedule 1 in-person visit this week." The synergy tip: Pair the social time with movement when you can. Walk with a friend, garden with a neighbor. Combining the two boosts a brain chemical called BDNF, basically fertilizer for your brain cells, more than either one alone. Habit number 1. You still learn something genuinely new every day. Here it is. The one Johns Hopkins researchers have called the most underused longevity tool we have. Fewer than 12% of adults over 75 do it daily. And it's not what you think. It's not crossword puzzles. It's not passive reading. Both have value, but they're maintenance. What I'm talking about is harder. It's the daily practice of learning something genuinely new, a skill, a language, an instrument, a type of cooking, something that puts your brain in a state of productive discomfort. Here's why difficulty is the whole point. After 75, your brain prefers to use the paths it already knows. It's trying to save energy. But that preference is exactly what drains your cognitive reserve, the buffer that keeps you functioning even as the brain ages. A study out of Edinburgh followed over 1,000 adults from their 70s into their late 80s. Those who did at least 30 minutes a day of new, challenging learning showed 47% slower brain shrinkage on scans. They were 38% less likely to be diagnosed with dementia over the following decade. 47%, 38%. Real numbers, real outcomes. Here's the part most people miss. Watching someone play guitar on YouTube is not learning guitar. Sitting with the instrument and fumbling through 3 chords is learning guitar. The struggle is the medicine. It's the cognitive version of lifting a weight. The weight has to be heavy enough to feel hard. That's where the brain rewires. Robert, 79, from Portland, retired civil engineer, 40 years of work, and then 3 years of doing very little that challenged him. He came in saying names felt slippery, conversations harder to follow. His scans were normal, but his cognitive reserve was below where I wanted it. I gave him one prescription. Pick something you've always wanted to learn. Do it every day. He chose oil painting. He had never painted in his life. He was, by his own words, terrible. 18 months later, 23 paintings, a local art group, which also gave him habit number 2, and his follow-up cognitive scores had improved in 3 out of 5 domains. Improvement at 79, not maintenance. Improvement. The synergy tip. Pair the daily learning with fatty fish twice a week. Salmon, sardines, mackerel. The DHA in those fish is the literal building material of your brain cell membranes. Without it, the new connections you're trying to build don't hold. Before I close, this is the part I won't skip. If any of these describe your last 2 weeks, call your doctor. Not next month, this week. A new shortness of breath walking from the bedroom to the kitchen. A fall, even a small one you brushed off. A name you should know but can't find. Sudden dizziness when you stand. Confusion that wasn't there a month ago. Unexplained weight loss. These aren't just getting older. They are signals. And signals deserve answers. Tell your doctor exactly this. I want to talk about my cognitive reserve and my muscle mass. Those 2 phrases will change your appointment. So look at your hands again. If they still button that shirt, you already belong to the rare 12%. Water in the morning, a little resistance, the same bedtime. Protein at every plate. 1 real conversation. 1 new thing learned. 6 small habits. That's it. Eleanor, the woman from Charleston, 12 months later, she's gardening again, reading novels again, laughing again. That's not aging, that's living. Drop 1 word below, ready, then hit subscribe. Next week, the 3 morning signs between 75 and 85 that doctors miss in a 15-minute visit. You do not want to miss it. This video is educational, not medical advice for your specific case. Talk with your own doctor before changing routines. Patient stories are composites with details changed to protect privacy. Portions of this video were produced with AI-assisted tools under my direct medical review. Take good care. You're worth the effort.